As you know, Williams County Safe Communities is our whole mission is to help save lives and reduce injuries on our roads. And it's through leadership and partnership efforts like what we're doing here today with our other public safety agents that are here today, and then also through the Williams County Safe Communities program. This has been kind of an interesting year, as we all know, just crazy times and hard times too. Normally, we will be talking about our Safe Ride Home program, Grace Community Church, of course, WBNO-WQCT radio station supports that so well. And this year with, well, the curfews and just all the concerns in regards to COVID-19, we had decided to cancel that program for this year. And so wanted to have just an opportunity to just share with you here on the air that reminder of being safe out there as far as no drinking and driving, and looking for designated drivers if you're going to go out and have a good time with alcohol and part of the party. And so that's why we're here today, just to really remind people that it's just a very busy time of the year, even with the shutdowns and the things that are going on. People are still out on the roads, and we just need to be safe. So I really appreciate this opportunity to be on and give us this platform to talk a little bit about traffic safety and what's going on here in Williams County. You know, the holiday season is known for being merry and bright, but it's also one of the deadliest seasons when it comes to impaired driving. And, you know, this lives are lost due to impaired drivers, and it's just a time of reminder. And so hopefully today we can share that message, talk a little bit maybe about some of our local concerns and some of the OVI laws that are out there to keep us safe, and just bring awareness to the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over, the national campaign. So really appreciate this opportunity, and thankful to have Lieutenant Bob Ashenfelder with us here also, and Sheriff Tom Cohert. And so at this time, I'm going to ask Bob that's just to come in, Lieutenant, give us a little bit of update of what's going on here in Williams County and maybe even on the national level.
Thank you very much, Peg. Good morning, everyone. Really appreciate Jim having us on, and good morning, Sheriff. So as we get started here with the holiday season, like they said, you know, we really look forward to coming out here with this program with Jim and taking care of business and making sure that everybody's fully aware of how the holidays in this COVID 2020 year, I don't even know how to say it. I'm happy to be in my office by myself and able to talk without a mask to someone live here today. But at any rate, the situation is with the holidays coming, the COVID situation, there's a lot of distractions, to say the least, with everyone out on the roadways, and the troopers are out working diligently along with all of our law enforcement partners throughout Ohio, throughout the country, frankly, but specifically too, for this purpose of this is Williams County, with the Sheriff's Department, all the local agencies as well. We're all out trying to help everyone and trying to keep everybody reminded of the dangers of while they're out there driving and the threats that they may see. With that, big one always in the around the Christmas and the holiday time would be OVI related incidents, and that's primarily what we're here to talk about today. And the OVI crashes, the severity of them, OVI arrests, driving impaired. And when I say OVI, some of you may know it, excuse me, as DUI, driving under the influence. A few years ago, they changed the language within the Ohio Revised Code to operating a vehicle while impaired for OVI, because there's so many things that can be related to operating a vehicle while impaired, to include illegal narcotics, marijuana, the alcohol that has been prevalent since we've had the inception of the vehicles, and then also prescription drugs, prescription medications. Many of those prescription medications that people take are very, they say right on there, do not operate heavy machinery, may cause drowsiness, things of this nature. When they talk about heavy machinery, they're not talking about the end loaders. Well, they are. They're talking about end loaders and things of that nature that construction companies may do, but they're also talking about heavy machinery, meaning cars, vehicles, trucks, buses, bicycles, mopeds, motorcycles, all of that all come into play. Anything that's on wheels that's operating down the highway is operating a vehicle. and the dangers of that when you are impaired are magnified. So what I want to do is remind everybody to, make sure that we're not out there and operating one of those. In 2000, basically, let's go this route. In 2019, the Williams County agencies, and that's with all my partners, that's the Highway Patrol, the Sheriff's Department, all of your local village police departments in the city of Montpelier and the city of Bryan, there were 121 persons arrested for operating a vehicle while impaired in 2019. I'm certain the numbers are just as prevalent so far this year, even though I don't have those exact numbers of where we're at. It's out there. It happens in Williams County, and the different times of the day and the week, it's really, those are all over the place. Everybody thinks of it primarily as a after hours time period, being after dark or after the bars close, things of that. Well, we all know the bars are closing a little bit earlier now. They close at 10 o'clock. You need to be closed up by it. But I will tell you that our highest prevalence in Williams County for OVI crashes would be between the 4 and 5 o'clock hour at 8.3% of all crashes that are involved OVI occur within those hours. The next highest one would be midnight at 7.3%. So we've got this broken down of those crashes. Now our OVI arrests, 14.5% of those happen after 2 a.m. between the hours of 2 and 3 when the bars close. However, like I said, those upticks are up. 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, we're at about 7.5%, and then 7% between 9 and 10 o'clock now as we start looking at an average. And so those stats are climbing. But it doesn't take away the fact that, those crashes, the highest point is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, everybody thinks, after 9 o'clock, after dark, that's the big thing. But really, it's a prevalent problem, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And most of our crashes, when you look at that too, of course, some of those still come in at Friday and Saturday nights are the biggest time frames of when those OVI related crashes occur. So it's quite it's lots of stats. I can bore you with them forever. I guess at this point, Jim, I'll kick it back to you. And what kind of questions do you have, and/or we can move it right on to Sheriff Cohart.
Yeah,
no, you can go with that too. So.
Sounds good. And it is interesting to know, Bob, that the time is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Sheriff Cohart, good to have you with us this year. Congratulations, first of all, on the election. You had to win it twice, and you did. So congratulations that way. Talk to me a little bit about just specifically Williams County and what you're seeing as you head towards this holiday season in Williams County.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, Jim, thank you for including me in this and for having me here with everybody. And thank you for the congratulations. Just to get into the meat of the matter, if you will, as far as Williams County goes, one thing that I've been focusing on since my election is to increase the effective and efficient use of my deputies. And try to get a little more organization involved as far as what they're doing and how they're doing it. And to that end, as it pertains to our conversation today, I've managed to give those deputies as a priority more time for focus on traffic and traffic violations, in particular, as Lieutenant Ashenfelder said, the OVI and distracted driving. And just as of recent, some of my guys have made some good cases to that regard. Unfortunately, they've made some good cases in that regard, but it is and will be an increasing priority for my agency, for my deputies to be looking for OVIs and impaired drivers and distracted drivers, not just year round, but especially now at the holidays. Lieutenant Ashenfelder had some great statistics there, as far as when and what times, that you're more than likely to run into an impaired driver. But the takeaway message is that we are always going to be out there, and we are always, going to be looking for that. And as you see an increase of sheriff patrol cars throughout the county, you need to know that that is one of their priorities. My guys are looking for that, especially around the holidays. So many times we've seen folks, the distracted driving is becoming quite an issue, and I think everyone can relate to, folks wavering around in their lane and just plain old not paying attention. And it takes, can't reiterate, it just takes a fraction of a second, messing with that cell phone or some distraction while you're driving, to cause quite a problem. And it's just imperative that folks focus on, if you're going to be driving a vehicle, and this is distracted driving I'm talking about now, if you're going to be operating a vehicle, pay attention to what you're doing. As far as the OVIs go, Lieutenant Ashenfelder hit on, of course, the alcohol and the drugs. That of course, I think is a common sense kind of a no-brainer. If you are impaired in that fashion, then clearly you should not be operating. And if you are, then we're going to try to do business with you. But the prescription medicines, I wanted to touch on that a little bit. I said earlier, this is a common sense issue, for most of us. And if you look on the label of those bottles, it tells you right on there, that may cause dizziness, may cause drowsiness, use caution operating machinery. And that car, the lieutenant said it perfectly. That's a heavy machine. That's a 3,000 pound object that you're going to be operating. So just use caution, especially around the holidays, not just with the alcohol and the drugs, operating impaired in that fashion, but with prescription medicines as well. So it's kind of what we have going. We have in 2019, just a few stats from my end, we filed 246 revised code traffic cases, of which 20 of those were OVIs. So the guys have prioritized this, and again, that's moved up a few notches since I've taken office on our priority list.
Fantastic. Sheriff Tom Cohart, along with Lieutenant Bob Ashenfelder and Peg Buda with Williams County Health Department. Two guys I don't want to do business with, and Peg, I'll do business with you at any time of the year. How's that? And I do need to take care of some business right now, so let me step away. We're talking safety. We're going to try to get you through the holidays without doing business with either Tom or Bob, and we are happy to have them all with us here today on the Q on a Monday. Talking about safe holidays and safe commuting wherever you might be going over the holidays. An awful lot of us probably are going to stay home, but if you're not, and if you're thinking about going out, there's a safe way of doing it. And I have Peg Buda with the Williams County Health Department on my Zoom mobile, along with Lieutenant Bob Ashenfelder of the Ohio State Highway Patrol and our Sheriff Tom Cohart as well. And Peg, let's talk a little bit, because normally this would be the time that you'd be gearing up for the New Year's and the safe ride home and all those kind of good things.
Well, we surely know that this is a different year, and so we've had to make changes like everyone else has. And my Williams County Safe Communities program has seen a lot of cancellations this last year, and so it has definitely been a different year for me. We've had to resort to a lot of social media and events like this, so the Zoom events where we can interact without being actually in contact with each other. And as we see the end of the year coming to a close here, the merriment of the holidays and everyone wanting to be out as much as they can and connecting as safely as they can. But this is still a busy time of the year, and we're here we want everybody to be safe on the roads, traveling to and from their parties or whatever that they might be doing for their destinations here during the holidays. And so really, again, appreciate the opportunity to be on the air this morning here in regards to letting people know that you have to be responsible. I mean, you just really have to be responsible. This is a crazy year. And, as it comes to the close here, drinking is part of the holiday celebration. I mean, for many, many people. And so just being wise. So if you're going to include alcohol, make sure that you have a plan in place, a safe ride home, a way to get home safely if you're out and about. And, that can be any level of alcohol. Our bodies all respond a little bit differently to alcohol, and not just alcohol, Just in our previous talk here, the drug impaired, if you feel different, you do drive different. And the buzz driving idea, you might not think you're impaired, but if you're feeling a little buzz, you're still not a safe driver. And so, all those things are just so important. I really have missed this year not working with Grace Community Church and WBNO-WQCT Radio and our other partners for our Safe Ride Home program. We've offered this. I actually had a 10-year anniversary this year at the Williams County Health Department. And since I've been keeping stats through this program, and Grace Community Church, they have just been, the heart of this program as far as really doing the meat of the driving and keeping people safe on the road. So we really just put a big thank you out for all the past efforts from Grace Community Church. But my count is over 347 rides we've given home safely since I've been working with this program over the 10-year time period. And so that's, 347 people that were potential impaired drivers that were not on the road during our New Year's Eve celebration. And so we're going to miss that this year. So people need to be responsible on their own and just make sure that they're, getting home safely with a designated driver or just a plan in place. And so, again, kudos to our Grace Community Church. We're looking forward to next year being, maybe we get back on track and have that opportunity again. It's just a busy time of the year. We just need to be smart and be aware and make good choices.
Yeah, no doubt. Lieutenant Ashenfelder, we've had kind of a shutdown here for the last several months. Have we seen less traffic, less deaths because of it?
We've seen a lot less traffic, very frankly. I mean, the volume of it throughout the state at one point was drastically down. It was like it was less than 50%, almost at a 30% downward trend. So when we really look at it right now, the state for pre-COVID numbers, all right, so pre-COVID being 100%, we are down across the state 19% still as of last week, down traffic volume wise. And that goes different areas across the state. So like Northwest Ohio, and I'll take for our district, you run a line up 75 from Lima north and then go due west to the Indiana line. So the 12 counties in Northwest Ohio, we are currently down 14% compared to a state average of 19%. You get over the Cleveland area, they're down 29% of their traffic volume. Now, people ask, why is this significant? When we look at right after we shut down there in mid-March, April, May, traffic was at its all-time lows. We've never seen, it was desolate. It was really weird and eerie as you drove around. And we all know it. We all stayed home. Everybody was home, working from home. I barely saw a difference because I was still going back and forth to work into my office and working every ounce I could to make sure we are getting as safe as we could and we changed our direction a little bit and helped get all of the safety material, all of the PPE, things of that nature to the areas that it needed to be throughout the state. So when that occurred, no traffic, our traffic deaths fell off at almost 40% of the averages of what they would have been for that time of year. And we were down drastically and we're like, oh, well, if there's one good thing that came out of it, that's great. Well, then when things opened back up again and there was still a little bit less traffic, everybody heard at that point how much the speeds and people were taking advantage of maybe the troopers doing other things. And the lack of traffic out there felt they could just do whatever they wanted. And we had speed arrests over 100 miles an hour that tripled in the amount that we would normally write in the same time of year, just off the charts. So with that brings the reckless behavior, things that people thought they could get away with. And that has now run our traffic death count. So 2019 was a pretty bad year. We are now currently today, we are 6% up from what we were this time last year, closing into the end of the year. We've had 1,191 traffic deaths in the state of Ohio. Last year at this time was 1,127. And I remind you, that was a very bad year. We really shoot to try to keep that number below 1,000. Now, out of those, the OVI we're looking at about 45% across the state average, having the OVI impairment attitude towards it. Since 2015, we've had over 81,006 OVI related crashes. And since that time period, it has killed 2,691 persons out of those crashes since 2015. So that's 15 through 19. That's not this year's stats yet. We don't have those totally compiled. But that also injured 49,190 people in that OBI related crashes across the state. So that stuff's devastating when you really think about it. That's all those people and their loved ones and all the people that are impacted. Just like these COVID deaths that are going on, and our COVID deaths have surpassed traffic fatalities by far already this year. So it's just another prong of the avenue that we want to make sure everyone is fully aware of. And as Peg has said, and while I'm on that, Peg, I really appreciate having Peg and her partnership with the Williams County Health Department for the safe communities. We would not be able to do our job without this public awareness, without the time and energy that they put through and help us get our message out. And also, Jim, with you having us on here, and I know my PSAs are heard throughout the radio throughout the year up there. These things, education. We can't force that enough to try to get the message across. The last place you want to see me is at your, everybody thinks the last place you want to see me, and you've heard me say this before, is at your driver's door, correcting you for behavior or giving you a citation for something you did and we caught you doing it. No, that's the first place you want to see me. Well, maybe the second. First place you want to hear or see me is right here on the radio while I'm educating everybody, rather than physically taking money out of your pocket to try to teach you that lesson, if that's what it comes down to, if the courts deem that necessary. But the absolute last place you want to see me is knocking on your door. I don't care what time of day it is or while you're at work and telling you that a loved one is not coming home. That's where you don't want to see me. And that's where, telling them that you're not coming home. It's up to each individual choice to make the proper choice to keep their head about them. Everybody wants you to be able to have a good time. Lord knows we need it, and we need community involvement. We're not able to get out and do that this time of year or this year with COVID. We do take some chances. This is what we're doing, but doing responsibly. It's bad enough. Don't add more to it.
No doubt. Lieutenant Bob Ashenfelder of the Ohio Highway Patrol. Sheriff Cohort, do you see similar traffic numbers here in Williams County?
I do. And as we mentioned previously, Jim, that, the traffic numbers are down, but, just some of the statistics that Lieutenant Ashenfelder was sharing there, when you look at 1,191 year-to-date confirmed traffic fatalities for 2020, and yet overall you've got traffic flow down, that's Jim, that's a problem. That just doesn't make sense. I mean, the numbers right there, they just don't make sense. Perhaps I'm old-fashioned in the regard where it says, know your limits, drink responsibly, don't drive impaired. Perhaps I'm old-fashioned in the sense that if you've had any consumption, you should not be operating a motor vehicle on the roadway. You simply shouldn't be. As Lieutenant Ashenfelder said, the last place that, and I'll even go farther, the last place that you want to see us is at your front door, telling you that a loved one won't be coming home, that they've been, a victim of a crash. But, as far as Lieutenant Ashenfelder and I are concerned, that's the last place that we want to be, is to have to go, spread that news to somebody simply because somebody could not refrain from answering that cell phone or sending that text, or could not refrain from going to the party, the bar, the wherever, having a few and thinking buzz driving is okay. It's just a little buzz. I've told a lot of folks before, all it takes is one being an old ODNR officer, we all know the prevalence of deer, car deer accidents. And, all it takes is one deer running out in front. They're hard enough to miss anyway. And when you start in these rural areas adding alcohol to this or other, intoxicating drugs to this mix, it just doesn't take much, just a fraction of a second. So, if you're going to consume, if you're under influence, again, I'm going to revert back to the prescription medicines. Pay attention there. That's probably one of the most one of the areas that folks just don't look at very often. They just don't think anything of it. You get up and take your daily medication, for whatever, and then hop in the car and drive, down to Aunt Emma's for Christmas. Well, it says right on the bottle that, you're going to be somewhat impaired, and it simply is not worth somebody's life, for you to do that. And these statistics almost look like casualty counts from some of the military conflicts that we've been involved in, and that's absolutely ridiculous that those numbers are that high. In particular, with these traffic volume numbers being as low, comparative to pre-COVID numbers. But I know Lieutenant Ashenfelter touched a little bit on Peg and what she's doing, and again, I will reiterate, as far as my agency is concerned, our heartfelt thanks, the things that she's doing, especially those safe rides, 347 safe rides. It's like, look, people, there's a way to get home alive. There's a way to do this, to go out and to have fun, and to do your parties, your gatherings, etc., and then just take that burden of killing somebody out of this equation. Just call for one of those safe rides. And so kudos to her agency, everything that's going on there, and the things that she's offering. Education is the key. We can, as the Lieutenant said, bore you with statistics all day long. But when the rubber hits the road, pun intended there, Jim, it's an individual responsibility. Life is about responsibility and taking responsibility for choices. So you need to learn how to choose wisely when you make choices.
Sheriff, let me ask you this, and Bob, you can chime in maybe as well, and then I'll need to take a break real quick. The bars are going to be limited to being open until only 10 o'clock, but do you feel in your gut that there's going to be a ton of parties out there now all around Williams County and Northwest Ohio? And Sheriff, I'll let you start, and then Bob, you can chime in as well.
Sure. That's Jim, I believe, and I kind of base what I'm going to say here on the fact that, we see a lot of folks, even when it comes to something, as simple as wearing a mask out in public or trying to be responsible in regards to the coronavirus. Unfortunately, we see folks that, the first thing they want to do is try to find a way around it. If the governor says you can have this many people in the bar, the restaurant, then they'll try to find some way around it. So unfortunately, I can kind of see that, spilling over into private gatherings, private parties, et cetera. But, whether you're drinking at a bar or whether you're drinking at your buddy's house, the bar and the house, the setting that you're in isn't what's going to kill somebody. Your decision to hop in that vehicle and put that on a public roadway and drive it when you're impaired is what's going to kill or injure somebody. And that's the behavior that you need to be thinking about.
Wonderful. Bob, are you going to have more officers out over the holidays than normal, as always?
As always, we have overtime posted. We'll have officers out that want to come out and work the overtime, to come out and try to do everything they can to combat this problem. As Sheriff Cohart said, the midnight traffic is very low. So you can bet your bottom dollar, if you're out moving along, you're probably going to get stopped and you will be checked out for impairment. That is our big number one goal. We want everyone to do so responsibly. As far as, getting together, everybody really has got to think about those COVID numbers as well. When they do get together, it's hard, and everybody's out thinking, they just want a normal Christmas. They want a normal this. We all want a normal something, and we really do. I do too. But it's going to be different again this year for Christmas. But people being out there, make the right choice. We have a large number of OVI arrests are never expected by somebody, but there's a greater perceived risk of arrest because of awareness efforts. And that's what we want to put out there. Enforcement is frequently complemented by education, and deterrence is enhanced by awareness. So if we can do anything, we can get this message across. Please do everything responsibly this year. And let's make it the 2021 and pray it's a better year.
Amen to that. All right, I need to step away, pay some bills. When we come back, I do want to check in on both officers as far as how the COVID is affecting their staff this year. And then we'll let Peg wrap everything up one last time to make sure we try to stay safe between now and the beginning of what will be a much better 2021. Heading towards noon here on the Q96.5 FM, and I do have Williams County Sheriff Tom Cohart. I have Lieutenant Bob Ashenfelder from the Ohio Highway Patrol and Peg Buda with me right now. And let's guys go kind of the reverse direction this time. Tom, let's start with you. How has the COVID affected the Sheriff's Department this year?
Well, Jim, that's a great question, and it certainly has affected us. We've had just a couple cases where we've had to quarantine guys just because of exposure to other folks. But we did have a couple deputies that did become sick. Fortunately, their symptoms were very mild. They recovered very fast, and I've got them back to work now. They've been cleared to come back. But as far as the effect, Jim, I would certainly hate for it to take any more of a piece of us, I would say, because it's difficult when you have limited staff, and that's why I want to reiterate to the public that this is very real. This virus is very real. If there's anyone out there that still thinks it's not, I'm welcome to discuss that with them. The last thing that we need to do is have a bunch of deputies or troopers or any law enforcement officer become infected with it, and that's going to have an impact on just especially at this holiday season, impact on our patrol, et cetera. So fortunately, it's been a mild impact that it's had, but nonetheless, we have had a little bit here.
And Bob, how about the Highway Patrol?
Well, here of late, we've seen a couple officers that actually contracted it. Did not come from on-the-job activities, thank goodness. But we've also had a few of them quarantined at different periods of time throughout it from other from exposure incidents or someone in their household having it. So we don't have them coming to the post. There's limited activity, I want to say, here at the post. We've got cars and we're doing everything as remote as possible. If they come into the post, they are a quick in and quick out. We put in place way early, way early, prior to even the shutdown of kind of knocking everybody away from the post and making them work more remotely, wiping things down, keeping all of those contact surfaces wiped down 100%. We started watching our PPE. Of course, we didn't have any PPE just like everybody else. We had very limited. We did have some because we've always dealt with things like this. Our job in itself is inherently a risky job. And so we have certain amounts of things, but for the normal stuff, we didn't have things to where every contact we were coming in place with, do we have enough gloves? Do we have enough masks? Right now, currently, we are stocked fairly sufficiently, always looking for more and preparing for further down the road. So throughout the whole year, we changed some directions with no traffic going on, but that's all you do. Well, it is kind of a lot of our job, what we do, but we're public servants. So when it really comes down to it, we were helping distribute meals to people, the shut-ins that would normally go elsewhere to get their meals. We were delivering meals at lunchtime. We were helped deliver the PPE gear across the state if we needed to, whether it was being cleaned for other agencies down to Southeast Ohio and transported back, or if it was the stuff coming out of the national stockpiles and being brought to the state level and then brought to the county level. We were helping distribute all of that. So we really took the public servant piece to heart, and my guys stepped up without any issues whatsoever, on top of still doing the regular duties. So has it been different? It's been very different this year, just as it is for everybody. But I keep on the guys. If they're in here, everybody's wearing a mask. We keep that social distance from one another, and knock on wood, we've been successful. Yeah, and I'll go right there with Sheriff Cohart. If anybody believes this isn't real, I have had here at the Post, we've had two close family members of some of my employees here that have passed from this disease, and they were not in congregate settings, as everybody thinks that's the big high point. It is a high point, but they weren't in congregate settings when they contracted it and how they've lost it. And I am telling you, everybody's on Facebook one way or another, and there's people that I've known for many, many years, and they are losing loved ones left and right. I knew when this whole started that we were going to see it. Anybody that thinks they're going to be remained untouched by this is fooling themselves. So mask up, wash your hands, do responsible things, and don't drive impaired, and keep your mind. And I wanted to say one other thing. As far as going down the road, distracted driving, we talk about all the distractions between the cell phone, text messages, emails, anything else you can possibly see. On top of that, too, there's the cognitive, which has always been one, but it's really, really wrapping people tight this year. They're thinking about other things. They're thinking about all the stresses at work, what they're doing with COVID. They're thinking about not being able to see their loved ones. They're thinking about their loved ones that are sick or contracted it. They're thinking about their kids and how they're going to teach their kids because they're remote or they're hybrid or they're going to school, but you never know what tomorrow holds. So everybody's thinking other things. Got to stay focused on the road. If you need to stay focused so maybe you can avoid it, if they're doing something silly, and maybe to give them the extra second to bring it back and keep everybody safe. Thanks for your time, everybody.
No doubt. Well said, Bob. Well said. Peg, you're my first guest, my last guest. Put a bow on this thing for me, will you?
Well, I just want to again thank you, Jim, for hosting us here today and giving us this platform to share the message as far as buzz driving is drunk driving, impaired driving. We don't want people out there drinking and driving. And so, as you are at a gathering of even a small number and drinking as part of the celebration, just make sure everybody has a sober ride home. And even always wear your seatbelt. I mean, that really is our best defense against impaired drivers coming at us. And so, wear that seatbelt. If you do see a drunk driver out on the road or someone that's not driving correctly, contact your local law enforcement, call 911, just so we can get that person off the road and not be a hazard to others. And so again, our message is be safe out there, be responsible, and surely the reason for the season hasn't changed. There's been a lot of changes this last year, but we're thankful that we do still have something to celebrate, and we're thankful for that. And as we celebrate, just to be aware that we can be safe by our choices that we make. And so that's really our message. Be safe, celebrate, and take care of each other. And this is just a really good time of season to remember that. So again, thank you from Williams County Health Department here at the Williams County Safe Communities Program. Appreciate all the partners that work together to keep our roadways safe. And thank you again, WQCT Radio, and your hosting, Jim, to let us have this opportunity for this message. So thanks again. Appreciate everybody's input.
Always great to have all of you guys together. That'll wrap it up. Be safe this year. You really do not want to see the lieutenant or any of his guys or the sheriff or any of his guys pulling you over on the side of the road, but you really don't want them at your front door. So be careful, be cautious this year. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. And back into Classic Hits. Don't forget, we'll be on the throttle right after the noon news here on the Q.